Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. My name is Stephen D. Kelly. This is the Stephen D. Kelly Show. We are Truth Cat Radio, www.truthcatradio.com. What is it here? Let me see. April. It's April 2nd. Yeah, I know. I saw this thing. It was like Germany was going to rebuild the Nord Stream and all this stuff, and it was April Fools. Oh, I missed out on all that stuff. But what can I say about today? Well, not so much the date, but this day, this Thursday, it is Holy Thursday, as we say. Holy Thursday, the first day of the Passion of Christ, the Garden of Gethsemane, and, which is interesting to me, I suppose, the pain of knowing what was coming and having to go through with it, and then at the same time knowing what the result would be and the changes that would take place. To me, that's a little bit symbolic of our mission, of course, because we know the world's got to go through a lot of crap to get to where it's going. But it will be a glorious divine rebirth that I know there will be no going back from. That seems kind of strange because we're so used to transient leadership. Except for Trump, of course, he can't be transient enough. He needs to be gone. But as humans go in the last 10,000, however many years you want to record, it seems that policy changes, and the only thing that's going to bring about this great transition is going to be a complete upheaval that will essentially bring about the service to others system, which is obviously a cultural change that the earth has not seen for probably millions of years. So, in that way, I suspect that the passion is a good metaphor, a good comparison. But otherwise, looking at everything that's going on right now, I can't really see anything divine about any of it. And I've got to start, of course, with the Bimbo Squad. Trump's little Bimbo Squad. It's the same thing he did the first time he had certain people that were there, and they were, like Kelly and what have you, some pretty reputable people, but they got kicked out. Now, this, of course, Pam Bondi, I don't know. I think before I go any further, I should just say one thing, and I regret having to say this at all, but it's really, really important because people, they just haven't got this in their heads yet. And it's mind-boggling to me when I see people speak in public, especially so-called leaders, or even reporters for that matter, or even those that might be addressing Trump or the policy of the United States, and they ask these questions, and they treat everything serious, and they forget this one thing, and that is that Trump is a pedophile. Every fucking thing he does must be painted with the brush of a murderous child raper. Nothing else matters. And yet, somehow, this is brushed under the rug because he's trying to destroy the world. It's almost like people don't understand. They're trying to find logic in it. But why are you trying to find logic in the mind of a fucking pedophile? It's obvious why he's trying to destroy the world, because he is going to get his head cut off if he ever gets caught, which is what will happen. But anyway, back to the Bimbo Squad. So when I think about people like Pam Bondi or Kristi Noem or even Kash Patel, I think, these idiots in these positions they're nothing. So when Pam Bondi got fired, which I guess was today, everyone acted like she fucked up. She somehow did a poor job handling the Epstein matter. She didn't release the files. She didn't give us the truth of the so-called most transparent presidency ever. Not like Sleepy Joe, but here's the thing about Pam Bondi, other than she used to wear that little cross and she was a little blonde and everything else, she got replaced by a guy named Todd Blanche. Who the fuck is Todd Blanche? 51-year-old dude. Happens to be the personal lawyer of Donald Trump. Has been the personal lawyer of Donald Trump. What kind of lawyer was he? He was a criminal defense attorney. Anytime Trump was involved in a matter of criminal activity, This is the guy that represented Trump. So in other words, this is the guy that'll say anything, do anything, lie, cheat, steal, whatever it takes to get Trump out of trouble, knowing full well that he works for a pedophile. So every time he's had to deal with whatever issue, legal issue, this is the man that was defending him. So what is Pam Bondi getting fired for? Perhaps for not defending Trump good enough from the Epstein files. So now we've got the so-called head of law enforcement in the United States. It's not a prosecutor. It's not a judge. Not a police officer. Nobody that has anything to do with law enforcement except the anti-law enforcement person, which is the guy that defends the criminal. That's what this guy is. He's a criminal attorney. He defends criminals. They say, well, he was formerly Trump's personal attorney. No big deal. Just look at all the cases. There were every single time Trump went to court for any criminal activity. This is the guy that defended him. So this is what we have for law enforcement, passing for law enforcement in the United States. Remember, Pam Bondi, according to Trump, supposedly reduced crime in the United States, supposedly. And yet, now she's being put out to pasture. Her political career is being terminated, and she's going into the private sector, into a job yet to be determined, yet to be announced, but very important job in private sector. Very important job. Anyway, so obviously this is a fucking scam. She couldn't defend him properly. Now he wants this bastard, the guy who sold his soul to defend Trump at any cost, is now the fucking Attorney General of the United States. Interim Attorney General. And how about that Kristi Noem, head of Homeland Security? Yeah, her, that sexy white forelock and whatever. And her, now it comes out to her husband's a cross-dresser. And I guess, I don't know what the deal was, if she's going to quit or what, but he's not just a cross-dresser. Apparently his thing was wearing big prosthetic silicone tits, really huge ones, like Dolly Parton style. That was his thing. And, women's clothing and that kind of stuff. The guy is fucking ugly. I don't know what it's sort of like J. Edgar Hoover, when he used to dress up as a, whatever you want to call it, really ugly female. That's what this guy did. Now, this is the head of Homeland Security, the husband of the head of Homeland Security, who supposedly did not know this was happening. Supposedly did not know this was happening. Oh, my God, big surprise. No shit. My husband wears big-ass latex tits. Holy shit. That lady's underwear in his drawer is actually his, not some bitch that he's fucking. Oh, which is worse? Anyway, I guess people thought that this could be, compromising to the security or, the ability of some foreign entity to blackmail her. Better get that stuff out in the open so that doesn't happen. Blackmail her. But, speaking of J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI cross-dressing all this, the same people who want to investigate what's going on over the Getty that fight us at every turn. Turns out that Kash Patel is fucking gay. People that say that, no, he's not gay. Well, come on. If you've seen the videos of him dancing around like a Hindu woman, he's not imitating a Hindu woman. He's being gay. He's saying, come fuck me. Anyway, but what's more interesting is where those tapes came from. Of course, the media's going to say, well, Iran hacked Kash Patel. No, they didn't hack Kash Patel. They hacked Mossad. Now, why did Mossad have files of Kash Patel prancing around like a faggot? Not a Kansas City faggot in this case, but something out of, let's say Bombay, perhaps? A Bombay faggot? No. Pretty much. Anyway, no. Mossad had that. It was the same dirt that Epstein collected for years, or Hugh Hefner collected for years, or any of his honey traps collected for years. And again, Mossad's not the enemy. We know who the real enemy is. It's Intratel. of which Epstein was a big deal. You know, did you hear that the federal government told the state of New Mexico to stop investigating Zorro Ranch, Epstein's Zorro Ranch? It's like, really? Stop investigating, even though there's emails that say there's two dead girls on the property, dead girls from out of the country, non-Americans, buried somewhere. I mean, obviously, if the federal government is going to block the state of New Mexico for hunting for bodies on a property like that, where there's already indications that there are bodies on the property, we know damn well they're not going to go underneath the damn Getty and exhume the bodies down there. If anything, they'll just give them a warning and say, hey, go move those bodies. Of course, we know that's probably already happening, but whatever. They mix that shit with concrete. But yeah, Kash Patel's gay. So we got Homeland Security, cross-dressing husband, gay head of the FBI. Pam Bondi replaced by Trump's attorney, Trump's personal attorney. Let's see, what have we got to be excited about? Oh, let's not forget General Randy George, the chief of staff, former chief of staff for Trump. Let's see, what was he? I think he was running the, whatever it is, the Joint Chiefs of whatever command, general military thing. Yeah, he was the boss, but anyway, he took an early retirement, he took an immediate early retirement because, as they say, he didn't quite fit the type of person they want leading the military, at least the type of person that Trump and Pete Hegseth want, as if Pete Hegseth had anything to say anything. Remember, he's just like a face with greasy hair that stands in front of a camera and says really retarded shit. Kind of like Trump. But who's the real power behind the throne over there at the Pentagon? It's not Hegseth. It's a guy named Steve Feinberg. The guy that's really running the shit. The guy that's really telling everybody what to do. Feinberg. I guess I don't need to tell you about Feinberg. Yes, he's a nice Jewish boy. But aside from that, what does Feinberg have to do with anything related to the Department of Defense or the Department of War, the Pentagon, whatever you want to call it, Department of War? What does Feinberg know about war? What is his history? Was he a great general? Was he a contractor, military contractor? Was he did something, designed a jet, a weapon, whatever? Is he like a Kalashnikov or something? What did he do? Let's see. What did he do? Oh, yeah. Equity capital management. That's what he did. He raised money. He started Cerebus Corp. Cerebus. That's the three-headed dog that guards the gate of Hades. When you go to hell, you got to get past Cerebus. He lets you in, but he don't let you back out. Very similar to kind of the mafia satanic shit, But hey, what did he do? He took $10 million. I don't know where he got that. He turned that into $60 billion. How'd he do that? Oh, I know. Dan Quayle was part of the company. I guess you don't remember Dan Quayle. He was the vice president under George Bush. I guess, 10 million, 60 billion. What the hell, right? No corruption going on there. But now he's the head of the Department of War. Oh yeah, and that Cerebus Corp, yeah, they're going to be like heavily involved in all kinds of crazy American funding and crap. The grift, it's just fucking insane with this Trump asshole. But we don't have time to talk about it. Nope, there's so many more important things to talk about. Where should we start? Corruption in government. How about that fine Senator Randy Fine standing around in the Senate or whatever it is, and when it's time to vote, he runs and pushes buttons on his colleagues' desks, the people that are not there. And of course, he's doing this because he wants to make sure that his friends that aren't there are all voting for Israel. It's like, come on, it's on camera, and yet this guy's still got his job. It's crazy. Crazy. There's so much to talk about. I want to talk about the Persia and Phoenicia. I want to talk about Persia a little bit, and I want to talk about the Second Temple. But I also want to, before I get there, I want to talk about one of the things that they're doing over there in Israel. They just passed a law that basically said they're going to start executing Palestinians that they've got in jail for so-called terrorism crimes. Hostages, as the Iranians describe them. And I'll tell you, the Iranians, I think, or the Persians, as they should be called. This is just the latest people that are writing policy for the Persians, these Muslims, but they, well, they're the only ones that seem to get it right. They're the ones burning the statues of Baal. They're calling Trump a pedophile. They're calling these guys Epstein class. And Trump, of course, is basically saying these are the most horrible, evil, wicked people on earth. Now, if you've ever needed a definition of projection, that's what projection means. It's when somebody is guilty of something that just completely says everyone else is guilty of that thing of which he is guilty of. So when he's like slinging that vitriol, just basically saying there has never been a more wicked, evil, despicable regime in power, he's talking about himself. It's clearly the case because he really has nothing to lose. He really is a despicable pedophile murderer of children, and he has nothing to lose, and he would burn the entire world down. He's worse than Herod, people. He is Jewish. They did find mass graves in Gaza. Yeah, like who did that? But who found that? But most of these skeletons and corpses they found in these mass graves were actually children with their hands tied behind their backs, zip ties. Pretty fucking insane. Well, I will talk a little bit. There's so much stuff I want to talk about, but I do want to talk about Persia and Phoenicia because, if you look at history, especially the parts involving the Babylon and the fall of Israel or the fall of Judea, the fall, post King Solomon, all that, you kind of get a feel for the modern Israelites and what these so-called Israelites are, the ones that call themselves Israelites. But if we go back to 539 BC, that's when King Cyrus the Great of Persia conquered Babylon. Now, he did not conquer Solomon. He didn't conquer the Levant. He didn't conquer Phoenicia, any of that. That was bullshit. Those guys were bullshit. No, Phoenicia wasn't bullshit. They had a significant navy and everything else. But, Solomon and his little kingships and all that, they were like bullshit. They were like vassals to the Phoenicians. Seriously. Well, anyway, when they conquered when Cyrus conquered the Babylonians, he basically took control of the whole thing. And they had to pay him, the Phoenicians, who were in control of Levant at the time. I'm not sure about Egypt. Now, Egypt and Egypt and Libya also paid silver tribute to Cyrus. So Israel paid something like 250 talents of silver, whatever it was, little silver bars. That's what they paid. And Egypt and Libya, they also paid like about half as much, but they paid a significant amount. Phoenicia was a significant kingdom, but bear in mind, the whole time we're talking about this, Israel was nothing. Nothing. The so-called kingdom of David and his kingdom of Solomon was nothing. It was a suburb of Phoenicia, practicing Phoenician human sacrifice, baby burning. Yes, the Babylonians did that too, but the Babylonians were destroyed by Persia. So, basically, the Phoenicians kissed the Persians' ass. And one of the things the Persians did under Cyrus was they very generously, they very generously allowed the exiled peoples under the control of Babylon and Assyria to return to their homelands and rebuild their temples and reconstruct their cultures and their religious practices, i.e. the temple. which brings us to Ezra, Nehemiah. Anyway, so the thing is that, first of all, obviously these Jews, the ones that went on to call themselves Israelites, the ones that were freed from, Babylonian rule and all that, took the Talmud with them that they wrote in Babylon. They owed everything to the generosity of Cyrus, allowing them to go back and do their thing. But remember, these were little nobodies. Nobodies. The temple and the palace of Solomon were built by Phoenicians, not Israelites. Phoenician timbers, Phoenician navy, all that stuff. All right, so what happened? Let's see here. Now, bear in mind, these couple things happened. A, Ezra and Nehemiah started the process of bringing back the true Israelites to the homeland, and where they could rebuild the temple. And when they got back there were Samaritans living there. These were people that the Assyrians, I think, had brought in to replace the people that were living there, the people that were, exiled. And that didn't go very well with the so-called true Israelites. The other thing that was a big problem for the so-called true Israelites is that after a couple of 100 years in Babylon, they had been, having sex with the natives. They weren't true Israelites anymore. They weren't exactly pure. They weren't, their bloodlines weren't like, Rothschild type tribal family, whatever you want to call them, purity. Incest purity. Yes, they actually were marrying the locals. And then when the Samaritans were there, they of course said, oh, well, these guys aren't pure at all. But the Samaritans were there for 200 fucking years, or however long it was that these guys were the exiled ones were in captivity, and they kind of lived there. They figured that they had a right to that land too, and they wanted to participate in any reconstructed temple. And of course, the true Israelites said, no, you can't do that. You're not true Israelites, blah, 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 bullshit. And they decided to make a bunch of laws. And one of the laws they said was that the Torah was going to be the law. They made the Torah the law. And the reason why they did that mostly was because that's how they justified the banning of so-called intermarriage with the non-Jews. They finally did get this temple rebuilt, the second one. Of course, it was pretty tiny compared to the one that the Phoenicians had originally built for Solomon. I guess they didn't want to help build the second one, but either way, they got it built. The first thing, what did? They had the ritual Sukkot, whatever, I don't know how to pronounce it, but the sacrificial altar. They killed animals, all right? They killed animals. Spilled blood, burned the carcasses. Okay, Satan, we're ready. Here you are. Bless our temple. And why did they do that? Here's the thing. This kind of, I suppose you could say, this is what really permeates this entire culture today. Because remember, these were the people that were trying to tell everybody else what it meant to be as an Israelite, an actual Jew. Everybody else was something else. So they had all these problems with everybody, purity problems. And they said that intermarriage was to blame for the sins of Solomon, basically, because good Solomon, good man that he was, blessed in the eyes of God, whoever that was, he took these wives plural, gentle wives, but they all had these different religions, which Solomon, they coaxed him into observing. Basically, they conned him into observing their laws, which meant, killing babies and stuff. What's going on, mister? Shush. Sorry. So, yeah, it was those wives' fault. If he hadn't married those darn wicked Phoenician or Babylonian or Canaanite or whatever wives, it wouldn't have happened, supposedly. He would have done all those bad things. It was the wife's fault. He was pure in the eyes of God. Just because he was king didn't mean he was responsible for all those bad things he did. Anyway, but just to show you just how fucking stupid that whole theory is, you have to understand that when Solomon died and the kingdom split in two and subsequently fell to the hands of the Assyrians and the Babylonians, of which only two tribes were basically taken into Babylon, the other 10 went into Assyria, that there were at least 19 kings. But I guess you could hardly call it glorious Israel because they were paying money to Assyria. They were giving silver to Assyria for the right to survive, just like Phoenicia was giving silver to Cyrus of Persia for the right to survive. Now, if you don't see this as a little confusing a little bit with this multi-tiered servitude bullshit, it is a little confusing, especially when you consider that the Phoenicians were the bad guys. They were the ones that did all this crazy shit. So, of course, when Cyrus rolled into town and took out the big bad Babylon, the Phoenicians were more than ready to kiss ass and pay silver and say, "Oh yeah, sure, we'll work with you. You can have disposal, you can have the use of our navy and our trade empire and all that crap." So they became allies or vassals, depending on how you look at it. They were actually vassals, but the Phoenicians considered themselves allies of the Persians till the end of Persia, which was when Alexander the Great came along and killed them both. But up until that time, they were pretty much buddy-buddy, except for one incident. Let me see, where was that? Did I mention that Ezra, or no, not Ezra, but Nehemiah, he rebuilt the wall, okay, around the so-called temple, whatever the wall. So in other words, this Western Wall and all that crap, it's the one that he built, second build. There's nothing divine about that shit. Supposedly, we know it's not even the real thing anyway. Let me see, what else did those guys do that's significant? There was a revolt. I wanted to see how long this relationship between the Phoenicians and the Persians lasted, but there was actually a time, roughly about 190 years later, I think it was 351 BC, as opposed to, was it 539 BC? That's when they were, became vassals to Persia. But was there almost 200 years later, just a little short 200 years, there was a revolt. Of course, it was put down and crushed. But that would suggest that there's the clue of the Phoenicians, the baby killers, first sign that they might not be getting along with the Persians, kind of like they are today. Even though, because that's what we got to look for, because remember, Cyrus was the good guy that released them from bondage, and suddenly they bit the hand that fed them. Of course, it was crushed. But I should also mention that Alexander the Great crushed them all. Of course, he took over. He crushed the Persian kings, whoever it was that he was fighting. But there were other skirmishes. In fact, that's one of the reasons why Carthage had so many Phoenicians, because they were fleeing this servitude under Persia. Interesting. And yet, they didn't bail each other out. They didn't help each other. But what do you expect for rats? Anyway, so I thought that was really important, understanding the historical significance, of how this whole concept of what determines that a proper Israelite happened and why they're so weird about the intermarriage and racial purity bullshit. Especially this whole business with blaming the sins of the man on the woman. Crazy stuff there. I should also mention that in this Easter season, Christian holiday and all that Christians are being murdered right now in Syria, wholesale slaughter of Christians, Druze Christians. We know that's happening. And of course, they're dying in Lebanon because they live there and Lebanon's getting bombed and, anywhere else they are in that part of the world. And that the Palm Sunday was stopped from having their procession for the first time since the beginning of Christianity. That has never happened. So, yeah, this is kind of an Armageddon thing. But, as if the executing Palestinian prisoners wasn't enough, the Israelis now, they've issued warnings to the Christian and Druze population of Lebanon, which their Israelis are currently invading. And they've warned these people not to hide Muslims, people of Muslim whatever religion, in their homes, in their attics or basements, like Anne Frank kind of thing, secret room behind the cupboard, whatever the fuck. Don't hide any Muslims in there. What are we gonna do? Burn the house down, kill everyone? Probably. So, gosh, right? Here we have the children of the fucking Holocaust going around and telling Christians that they better not hide another religious group, lest they also suffer the punishment and certain death of those people that they're trying to hide. Sure sounds Nazi, huh? Well, wow. It does not get any more Nazi than this. If you can't see that, you're really fucking sick. So much for ancient history, huh? Yeah, I know. 33 minutes in the show. I don't really want to go too far with that, but I did want to go into some more fun stuff. Not exactly fun, but sometimes when I look at this crap with these, like Trump being a pedophile and nobody talking about the mafia and, nobody having the balls to do anything, let alone say anything, or the greed, even for that matter, I wonder, it feels very isolating, if you will. And I kind of realized, I saw that story about the scientists getting killed a few days ago, or not killed, disappearing. I mean, they're doing it all the time. And I figured when I heard about scientists disappearing, getting killed, I thought, okay, I got to check this out. Because the last time they did that was anybody that had anything to do with microbiome, looking into the cells, biocellular or whatever, people who were involved with genetics and anybody that would recognize that the true nature of the COVID pandemic that they were going to foist upon everybody, they killed all those experts off in the first, right away. Anyone that could possibly help and say, oh yeah, this is bullshit or whatever, they got rid of those people. But this time was different because these people were all involved in researching plasma, which is interesting. Plasma. Why do people do plasma? You could say, obviously I've talked a lot about it, and at the same, I have to think that that's an isolating thing because it's the sort of subject that's so, well, nobody talks about it, okay? It's like I feel kind of lonely thinking about crap like that because I know no one even has a clue what any of this has to do with anything. But we do know that plasma is a key component or phenomena in let's just say the use of hypersonic missiles. We know that plasma can be friend or foe in a military scenario where something is entering the atmosphere and plasma is being created. This can screw up with certain telemetry, communication, this kind of thing. But at the same time, it also creates an envelope, rendering the thing inside of it impervious to any kind of detection or interference. Very good stuff to know about. But if you've been listening to me, you'll also know that plasma is something that can be resonated. It can be used as a weapon, i.e. the plasma beam, which of course was Congress essentially called my flashlight a weapon of mass destruction because, because we could program it to give you an epileptic seizure, but eventually I figured out that you could modulate that thing, or not modulate, but yeah, modulate, I guess, would be the correct term. It's actually a resonance, but modulation is the key to that, to produce such a high frequency that it would essentially shatter any crystalline structure that it should impact upon, such as a tank or an Apache helicopter or who knows what, maybe a drone. But yeah, they banned that thing. But the other thing I think that was the most important discovery, of course, was light speed travel. Now we know, well, maybe we don't, but I know that pure silver, ultra pure silver, when encased in a plasma, which is inside of a magnetic field to encapsulate said plasma, that plasma can be modulated to produce a resonant frequency of a certain frequency that causes the silver to laze on a atomic level and creating high amounts of ultraviolet optical radiation. Lots and lots of it. Now, again, this is some pretty top secret stuff, I would think, because certainly light speed travel is probably something that they're wanting to maybe control that information, perhaps, but maybe it's something else. Who knows? I'm pretty sure it has a lot to do with that. Now, there's also a possibility, and this just occurred to me today, thank you very much, but it could be very futuristic and overkill extravagant, but if you couldn't produce ridiculous amounts of ultraviolet light simply by exposing some silver to a modulated plasma, that could be a weapon, depending on how much light we're talking about. But I have the feeling that it may be an actual very high, incredible amount of optical power. If it's enough to push an object up to light speed, it may be enough to push something else too. I mean, like the cells of your body very far away from where they're supposed to be in your body. Little things like that. I have a feeling it could be a very devastating weapon. Hadn't even occurred to me until today. It's like, wow, what if oh crap. You can push a spaceship to the speed of light with this technology. You could certainly, well, hurt people. I'm pretty sure. So, hey, what does that mean? Are these scientists being kidnapped and taken down to Area 51 where they can, work for Uncle Sam, or are they being eliminated? Is Spectre kidnapping them? Are the Russians kidnapping them? Are the Israelis kidnapping them? Who's doing it? Is Intertel doing it? Of course they are. They run everything. You guys, I just gotta remind you real quick, because I think maybe this is escaping everybody for a second, but when we talk about people like Jeffrey Epstein, we talk about Trump, or we talk about any of this stuff, we are talking about this Intertel mafia. We're talking about the CIA, the NSA, Mossad. It's all the same thing, and these are the guys that run all these bunkers that are hell-bent on trying to start this World War III. Hell-bent. They already tried to kill every single one of the negotiators, the Iranian negotiators, and there's this one guy that apparently is Speaker of the Parliament or whatever. I think he's the guy, but same thing. They're trying to kill him too. It's like, well, in other words, it's like, for instance, the more they say they're trying to negotiate, which is incredible because Trump's doing that quite a bit right now, the more they're actually, it's a trap to try to kill one of these guys. So you got to wonder who's actually doing the killing. Is it Mossad trying to derail this thing? I mean, is it so important? Now, there's going to be eventually a nuclear bomb going off in probably Tehran, but, remember, it's a country of 90 million people. They're really not going to go away. And they told Trump, they laugh. The United States it's only been around for a puny 250 years, and Persia's been around for over 6,000 years. So it's kind of ridiculous when Trump says he's going to put them back into the Stone Age. I mean, they were actually in the Stone Age. Well, if you want to call it that. Anyway, again, sorry for talking about the silly ass Trump shit. I do get tired of it, and let me see if I can move on to something more interesting. Well, I do want to say that big things are happening, if you haven't noticed it. And even like this silly game thing we're working on, we've been so busy. That's actually happening, people. It's actually happening. We've actually getting it set up, programming, all that stuff, visuals. You're going to actually be seeing real live game here very soon. And if we pull this off without, the world going to hell real quick, we might actually be able to use that energy to do some really powerful stuff really quick. I'm kind of looking forward to that. But at the same time, I also see huge amounts of magic going on, for lack of a better word. People getting more psychic every day. People noticing things, the veil's getting thinner. People are manifesting things. It's pretty incredible. And I think that as we get closer to the so-called end, that those of us that have already, well, shall we say, chosen wisely, we're coming into our power. Truly, we're coming into our power. And if anything, the enemy is becoming much more fearful of us, and they're doing more wild, crazy things to try to, well, keep their schemes going. I think they know that they're not going to be able to do that, but they've got this last day of the free lunch mentality going on. I really, it's almost like a frenzy to try to kill as much as they can and cause as much destruction before the inevitable end comes, which is coming. It's amazing. It really is. All right. So anyway, I guess the bottom line is, those of you that don't really see the value of what you're doing, or the power and the effect of your actions, and when I say actions, I mean the things that you do to promote the mission, the very fact that you're doing it at all, means that you're part of something that's way more powerful than this enemy, which is the most powerful thing, and thought it was the most powerful thing, next to Jesus, of course. But anyway, yeah, we win this thing. They know it, and it's getting closer every day, and it's kind of amazing to behold what's transpiring in front of us. And I just hope that you guys aren't afraid of it, and at the very least can revel in the changes that are taking place, and be, how shall we say, well, not appreciative, but proud of the results of your efforts, and thank yourself for being on the right side. You know what? I've got this big black spider. It's been hanging out on my computer monitor. He's been up on the shelf here for days, and he's just been hanging out. Let me see if he's here. Oh yeah, there he is. He's right on the side of the keyboard right now. Right there. I'm waiting for there's a fly just appeared. I think he's been waiting patiently all day for some fly to get close. I hope he gets one. He's very menacing, but I decided to kind of treat him like a pet. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, I know. There was just don't scare him. There was a fly just flying around. So come on, fly, go land over there by that spider. He needs you. He wants to meet you. You guys need to talk. All right, everyone. Again, what was today? Oh yes, Holy Thursday. Tomorrow's Holy Friday. Let me just say that, first of all, this is a very sad time for any Catholic, or anyone that has any sort of empathy, especially for the pain that Jesus went through. This is one of those times, very, very solemn time. Oh yeah, great time for somebody to call me, huh? Sun Valley. Well, that was a bogus call. Anyway, so I hope you guys have a good Easter, and I hope when it's all over, I hope you guys just double up on your efforts. I know by tomorrow, I'm going to get back heavily into my gaming, trying to get that game pounded out real quick before Trump kills us all. Right? Anyway, all right, let me see. Let me finish this up. I want to remind everybody that you guys are listening to Truth Cat Radio, but if you want to help us out, please use the PayPal. Okay. And the PayPal, of course, is Stephen Kelly 714 at yahoo.com. All right. And you got to say friend or family, or I can't take it. All right. But anyway, I do appreciate anybody that does contribute. And if you have contributed any time, I want to thank you very much for your generosity. And trust me, it's not wasted, especially now. All right. Oh, by the way, it's almost, I mean, I told you guys that the OTG item store was open, and we had to get through our first sale because PayPal is weird like that. But, you know, that's what it is when you're an official business. You got to deliver on one of your invoices before they think you're legit. But anyway, so that's done. And we had some software issues with our, what the hell was it, WordPress, but that's sorted now. And if you guys want, you can place orders right now. You can go there. Now remember, there's only 12 styles available, but you can get the art on the front or the back. Okay. Personally, we're going to go to the front now. I think the front's a better place for it, but right now we show it on the back. But you need to tell us what you want as best you can. Send messages. You can send messages to me or to Jose. I'm sure there's some way of doing it. If not, we'll fix it soon. But like I said, the page is working, and you could actually place an order right now and purchase your item through PayPal. Okay. I mailed out 2 shirts. 2 shirts and a special item to someone, and it was almost $25. And I was like, wow. Yeah, no, it was $25, something like that. $22. Anyway, point is that I don't feel so bad for the prices we charge now when I saw that. But you can get a discount. There is a discount. Let me see, what's the discount? The discount is, it's a code. You got to type this in. It's Children Under the Getty. One word, no spaces. Okay, Children Under the Getty. Okay, you'll get it 15% off if you do that. So anyway, yeah, go visit that store and please patronize it because, yeah, everything that goes into that is going to certainly help us grow our little company that we're going to try to turn into something that's going to be very influential. Okay? Guerrilla style. All right, what else I want to tell you? All right, so like I said, if you can donate, remember, please friend your family. And if you want to buy a t-shirt, go to OTG Items. That's OTGITEMS.com. What else? All right. Oh, yeah, join the Telegram group. Please, if you haven't done it, what are you waiting for? It's Occupy the Getty / Stephen D. Kelly. And you got to have Telegram. And if you are on Telegram and you're using your phone, clean your cache daily. Otherwise, it'll be a pain in the butt. You don't want to deal with that. What else? Oh, yeah, if you need healing of any sort and don't wait until it's too late, send me an email, law17gun@AOL.com. That's law17gun@AOL.com. Okay? And you got to send me a photo. You got to send me permission. You got to send me your full name. And if it's for somebody else, same thing. All right? If they're a coma, I don't need their permission. But otherwise, don't say somebody needs help and they have no clue. All right? Don't do that. What else? If you want a copy of the book, obviously that's free. I'm pretty excited about this game, though, because I think I'm going to incorporate elements of the new book in that, too. So that should be a lot of fun. You know, lore. Yeah, people love that stuff. Okay, what else do I want to tell you? Nope, that's about it. All right, everyone. So, Holy Thursday, Garden of Gethsemane. That's what you should be thinking about tonight, not whatever stupid thing they want you to think about. Okay? All right, with that, I am going to remind you all again that my name is Stephen D. Kelly, and this is the Stephen D. Kelly Show, and we are Truth Cat Radio, www.truthcatradio.com, the one and only. Did I mention that Mr. Kitten is featured on some of those t-shirts? Yeah. Mm-hmm. You got a Truth Cat Radio t-shirt. Uh-huh. That's right. How cool is that? Anyway, like I said, the one and only TruthCat Radio, www.truthcatradio.com. Thank you for listening live, and if you're listening on the if you're listening onto a recording, I'm just going to check and see if anybody's listening live right now. Oh, there we are. Let me see. Oh, hey, there's Britain. Yo, Jordan. South Africa, how you doing? And there is Netherlands. Greetings. Who are we missing? We're missing Australia. We're missing a few countries. We don't have Chuck here. If you went back to sleep, that's okay. I understand. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for listening. And we actually did get the show recorded, so it's going to be all right. All right. Happy Easter, everyone. Once again, my name is Stephen D. Kelly. This is the Stephen D. Kelly Show. We are TruthCat Radio. Good night. God bless. Adios and goodbye.